So today I'm going to do a week in review of sorts. There's not a whole lot of pieces of news or anything to talk about, but there's a couple of really quick subjects that I wanted to touch on. Typically when I've done these in the past, even though I don't do them very often, everyone really seems to love them. So maybe I'll try to figure out how to do a week in review kind of thing on a regular basis, but typically I like making a video about just like one simple topic and having my super long-winded conversation about it with you guys. But what we're doing today is two very, very quick things that I want to discuss and one really cool game release. So normally when I've done these in the past too, I know I'm usually on camera talking to you guys where you can actually see me having the conversation about the week in review stuff. And my schedule today really doesn't allow it, and those videos take a lot longer to render. So I'm trying to kind of do this the quicker way since I'm recording this in the morning before going to work. And the first thing that I want to talk about is something that was actually revealed to me when I did the Juices Loose podcast yesterday on Monday. And I feel so lame for not having known this until it was actually brought up on the cast. And that is that Yooka-Laylee, the crowd-funded game from Playtonic Studios, which was meant to be emulating and reprising a lot of what we loved about the old Banjo-Kazooie types of games and the collectathon games from that kind of 32-bit and N64 era. Also, you know, Playtonic Studios being made up of a bunch of developers and guys who used to work for Rare Studios back in the day, what we called the golden age of Rare, because it truly was a golden age back in those days. And so we got some information about Yooka-Laylee ever since it was first revealed now 8 or 9 months ago, where they had a couple of rough but very cool looking gameplay clips, and just the premise was laid out like, hey, we all love Banjo-Kazooie, some of us made Banjo-Kazooie, here's a new game that we're allowed to play that's kind of, you know, bringing back some of those fundamentals, and everyone got really excited. Now we've seen some really kick-ass footage, a brand new trailer dropped, and they confirmed that the game is coming out in the first quarter of 2017, unless that gets delayed, but as of right now, that's when it's coming out. And holy crap, I watched that trailer, and it's fantastic. I'm sure a lot of you guys have also seen it too. There's a lot of cool things happening with Yooka-Laylee. You know, because I was playing video games in the N64 during that golden age of Rare. I remember when GoldenEye came out, playing it when it was brand new. Perfect Dark. Donkey Kong 64 is like the one N64 Rare game I never played, and I didn't even know it had such a strong legacy until a couple of years ago. Somehow that completely passed me by, and I feel terrible about that. But I wasn't a huge Donkey Kong fan at the time anyway, so that's okay. But, you know, Jet Force Gemini, all these great things, Killer Instinct Gold, they did some really kick-ass stuff back in the day. Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, of course, being two of their most famous and their most popular, and for good reason, because those games are freaking incredible, and they're also just the kind of games that I love. I loved them back then. I love them still today, whether it's a 2D or a 3D platformer kind of adventure, any game where you're collecting stuff. It can be totally thin on the story and plot. I don't care about that stuff for those kinds of games. So it's like, just create a bunch of items to collect that, you know, just do little fun things and make it a fun sort of treasure hunting kind of adventure or aspect to the game. And I think that's awesome. So now that I've seen some more solid gameplay and some context of what they're doing, it's fantastic, you guys. I mean, this game looks great, not only because the visuals look really cool, but because it really looks like they're putting their heart and soul into making this game the actual reprise of those old fundamentals from those games back in the day. And also hopefully making it modern enough to make sense not only for us older gamers where we have the nostalgic attachment to it, but also for newer gamers who probably didn't grow up in gaming when that kind of stuff was so prevalent, and maybe they can see why it actually works and is still a fun thing alongside of all their brown and bloody shooters, which is also stuff I like, by the way. I'm not knocking those things, but I do think that coloring your palette with different types of experiences is a good thing. For the most part, the gaming industry doesn't do as much of that nowadays as I think that they should or that they used to, and introducing games like Yooka-Laylee and a couple of other games will even pull the controversial Mighty Number 90, and I think gameplay-wise, it's great what that game is doing as well. I think it's cool to have these kinds of things happening, so I'm really proud of Playtonic for doing this. I'm proud of gamers for supporting it. I'm not really big on the crowdfunding thing. I'm an old man in this respect. I don't really know how I feel about that idea yet. I don't know. I've always said the first and only game I will ever crowdfund is if Beyond Good and Evil 2 gets announced with a crowdfunding campaign. I think that if that game does turn out to still come back and release, it's just going to be a game that's being published and paid for already. But if it was revealed as like a Psychonauts thing or the Shenmue 3 thing, and it's like, oh, we want to make this game, we're ready to go, we just need some crowdfunding. It's like, you know what? That will be the first time I will give in. Anyway, I kind of tangented there. I have nothing against it. It's just not anything that I've felt like I needed to get involved in. But that being said, considering the crowdfunding was so vastly successful, I think it's great that it showed gamers are willing to support this and that they want this. The last thing I want to touch on with this is they also revealed very cool and surprising information that the Wii U is actually the lead development platform for Yooka-Laylee. Holy cow, what an insane thing. The Wii U and the PC, I believe. And I know that might echo some bad things with how the Project Cars thing played out in the last couple of years, but this really doesn't feel like that. I don't think that we're going to run into anything like that debacle. I think that this is going to absolutely deliver on the promise of a kick-ass Wii U game, and it's actually the PS4 and I think Xbox One versions that have a different team that's actually working on the game and porting the game from the Playtonic foundational game, which is being developed for the Wii U and the PC. How cool is that? I think that they obviously know where a lot of their gamers are. They know which kind of gamers of which platforms are going to mostly want to support this and enjoy it. And while I do think, this game, hopefully, if it's good, will be successful even on the PlayStation and Xbox and any other platforms, I love the idea that they understand the Nintendo kind of gamer that grew up with these games are the ones that they should probably be appeasing the most, and hopefully the success will just branch out from there into the other platforms. So kudos to you guys, Playtonic. I love what you're doing. I was so surprised. I wish that I knew that information dropped. Thank God for being on the podcast, or I would have been behind by days. So it gave me a reason to talk about this, and yeah, I just think it's really cool what they're doing. So that's what's happening with Yooka-Laylee. The other thing that kind of came sort of out of nowhere is the reveal. It's like a pseudo leak and also a pseudo actual reveal of Watch Dogs 2. So here we are, less than a week now, or actually exactly a week away from E3 2016. It's going to be a big deal. Very excited. I've got all sorts of time off of work, so hopefully I'll be able to make a couple of videos throughout each day maybe, and I don't know. I'm going to try to cover it as much as I can, but I'm also excited to just watch it all go down. And so Watch Dogs 2, basically a week away from E3, we now know we're probably going to get a whole bunch of stuff from Watch Dogs 2 at the show. They revealed basically this weird sort of pseudo trailer thing and also a date for the game, which is really crazy. So I'm recording this today on June 7th. The word is, from what I found on a VG Charts article, that tomorrow, June 8th at like 9 a.m. Pacific time, which is where I am, is when they're actually supposed to do the official reveal. And I don't know what that's supposed to mean, if it's a trailer, if it's gameplay, if it's cutscenes, if it's Ubisoft people just talking about it, if it's them announcing, okay, the game's real, it's going to be happening, and at E3 you'll see it. Something like that will probably happen. There's not a lot to go on right now other than a weird 30-second phone clicking trailer thing, which is fine for what it is, I guess. And the fact that they gave us a date, November 15th, I believe. I'm excited, you guys. I know Watch Dogs was a really controversial thing now 2 years ago. For many reasons, the Nintendo controversy, the graphics downgrade controversy, the delay controversy, the quality of the promise of the game controversy, all these different things. But it did still do very well. And while it wasn't like a total smash hit critically, it still was mostly well received. Lots of 8s. Lots of gamers did like it. Very few people said it was excellent or called it a masterpiece. For the most part, people were like, yeah, that was pretty good. Yes, a lot of people were disappointed, and I get it. You know me, if you were following me at that time, which was when I had 600 or 700 subscribers. It was now 2 years ago. I talked about that game a lot because I was excited for the Wii U version. And I was like, I love the fact that this game is coming out on the Wii U. This is the kind of thing that developers should be willing to support their third-party games and bring a game that seems tailor-made for the gamepad to the Wii U. And then they delayed it to put all this extra time and effort and to hopefully make that gamepad awesome for this hacking game. And it did come out, and I did buy it, and I do still really like the game, but they did drop the ball on the Wii U functionality in the gamepad, and that part kind of sucked. That being said, like I said, I still followed and supported that game when I finally picked it up and played it for the first time ever when the Wii U version came out. I actually made a 5-part Let's Play series that was so insanely popular. I'm actually really proud of how many views that 5-part Let's Play got, and it was a lot of fun to do. I also had a blast recording it because I actually just liked the game. Like I said, yes, the gamepad stuff was very disappointing, and Ubisoft showed that they weren't willing to put the extra time and effort to make the Wii U version unique and to make the visuals more up to par with the next-gen versions and not the last-gen versions, even though the game is still pretty good-looking. When I look at it as just a game and not a Wii U experience, it was still awesome. It was a great, weird, futuristic, hacking, open world, kind of cool, sort of just experience game. It was a lot of fun for what it was. And anyway, through that, with that whole tangent, I'm excited for the sequel, you guys. I think that there could be really cool things here. Something else I read in that VG Charts article was a little strange because they mentioned the confirmation that it's a new character, and I didn't see anything yet that actually shows me that. I also never beat the game. I played very far into it, but I never got to the very end, so I don't even know if Aiden Pierce survives or not. Maybe he doesn't survive, and so we have to just know by dint of story that this next game is not going to feature Aiden Pierce. But something tells me he doesn't die. So is it Aiden this next game? Is it a new character? I don't know. I kind of don't really care. I'm just excited for another game. In a way, I'd almost like a brand new character, and they treat it almost like as an anthology, where it's games set in the Watch Dogs universe, using this Watch Dogs technology and storytelling, but featuring different characters and different plights. I think that would be pretty cool. But like I said, we don't have much to go on other than the fact that they said, hey, the game's real. Here's 30 seconds of a phone thing, and it's probably going to be, they're going to probably blow the doors open at E3, and as they should. And to me, that actually makes me very excited because I really liked Watch Dogs. And the last thing I want to touch on real quick is that this Friday, June 10th, a really great looking 3DS game comes out. I never get to talk about 3DS games. And of course, we all know that is Kirby Planet Robobot. I have become so crazy pumped for this the last probably 2 or 3 weeks now, even though I haven't talked about it and it's not getting a whole lot of press. I'm really excited to have a great platformer, a Nintendo game, a Kirby game, and a 3DS game. Like all of those things wrapped into one product coming out this week, right before the weekend. I'm pumped, and I think other people should be pumped. I hope this game starts to get the attention that it deserves. I think it probably will. I think early reviews from like the UK release or the Japanese release came out a couple of weeks ago, and from what I understand, it's actually very, very positive. It might have even been the North American release of the game. I can't remember now, and they just had it very, very early to review. But from what I understand, I mean, all the buzz I think right now is very positive, that they've done a great job bringing Kirby back and making it feel like normal, traditional Kirby, but also with that typical Nintendo gameplay spin of putting Kirby in a giant freaking robot in a planet full of robots. I mean, it's such a unique, cool-looking idea. I rewatched the trailer again yesterday because I wanted to show it to my girlfriend because I think it's a game she's going to be very excited to play, and she is. And watching that trailer again, I was like, man, this game is going to be so great. I'm very, very pumped, and I just hope that a lot of people pay attention to it and give it its due attention. I think it's going to do well. I think the reviews are going to be very solid. I think it's going to sell very well because it's a 3DS game and a quality Nintendo game. All good things, stuff that makes me very, very excited. I'm one of the people that did like Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. It's not amazing, and I do think it's a shame that taking advantage of the gamepad did mean not being able to, look at your TV consistently and comfortably. But you know what? I kind of just don't really care because I still found it so fun. I love that there was a unique control mechanic. The game still looked very, very pretty. And you know what? They sold it for a budget price. And I'm willing to factor that into my overall feelings on the game. I didn't have to pay a full $60. It was only $40. And I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. My girlfriend got a lot of enjoyment out of it. We had a blast. It was fun to trade the controller and play, try the multiplayer stuff. It was just a cool experience. And I like Kirby and the Rainbow Curse for what it was, but the fact that it was so different is what makes me more excited for Planet Robobot, because it is more traditional Kirby, and it is that side-scrolling collecting thing that I was talking about with even the Yooka-Laylee stuff. I love me some platformers. I love me some Nintendo platformers. Kirby is badass, and I think that this game looks fantastic. So, everyone keep an eye out for that. I'll talk about it a little bit once I actually have been playing the game. I don't have the ability to capture footage on a 3DS or a handheld, so I won't have any of that stuff. But as far as just talking about the game, I am very excited to do so. I will be playing it a lot this week, and I'm so excited to have a reason to turn my 3DS on for a new game. That is just something that I wish happened more often than not, and mostly because I just was unable to pick up Fire Emblem when that came out, so I still will be going back to pick that up. That was the other game that I kind of missed. So anyway, that's what's going on. That's my pseudo week in review, if you want to call it that. Just a couple of things to talk about. For myself, all very exciting things. I know Watch Dogs is the controversial one there, but I was a fan of the first game, so I remain excited for the second game, and I'm really hoping that we get some cool stuff to see at E3 next week. What do you guys think about all of this stuff? What do you think about Yooka-Laylee Watch Dogs 2? Are you excited for Kirby Planet Robobot? Hopefully you are. Talk about all that stuff below. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob with Rule of 2 Review, and I'll catch you guys next time on another video.